I have played the original Portal for over 2,000 hours. Over the course of those 2,000 hours, I've completed the game my fair share of times. I've beaten the game casually. I've beaten the game quickly. I've beaten the game without using a forward bind. I've beaten the game using no clip. I've beaten the game using out of bounds. I've beaten the game by removing obstacles using an environment. And despite having completed Portal in such a variety of different ways, the game still grows stale for me when the deed is done. While following the category extension boards on speedrun.com has been a great way to freshen up the thousands of hours I've spent mastering the game, none of these gimmicks have significantly made me reconsider how I approach completing it. Most of the time, the end of the game is just a few common glitches away. So for a long time, in pursuit of breaking a streak of boredom with the game, a question I often posed to myself was this: what is the stupidest yet simultaneously challenging way I could possibly complete Portal? And then, as I scrolled through the Steam Summer Sale of 2022, despite very well knowing I wouldn't play anything I actually bought, I stumbled upon this software called Voice Attack. Voice Attack is a voice recognition program that allows you to assign voice commands to actions that will execute on your computer. It has tons of applications outside of just being used for gaming, but what's important are its functionalities to input key presses and move the mouse for you. So yeah, you could already see where this is going. I bought the software immediately, and I completely forgot about it for about half a year, but in February of 2023, I was ready to begin the stupidest challenge idea I had ever come up with. I was going to beat Portal 1 entirely with the use of voice commands. To start, I spent about an hour mapping voice commands to all necessary in-game actions using Voice Attack. Here's a list of all the commands I created for this challenge. It's basically everything you'd expect: moving forwards, backwards, left and right, shooting blue and orange portals, jumping, picking up objects, crouching and uncrouching, quick saving and loading, the works. Everything was straightforward, except for controlling mouse movement. Unfortunately, Portal is a puzzle platformer that requires a rather niche technique known as aiming. When I realized that Portal did in fact require me to move my arms, I already wanted to perform my signature move, quitting. However, I had nothing better to do with my time, so I made it that whenever I instructed the program to look left, right, up, or down in game, the camera would slowly pan in the direction I told it to. I hadn't even started playing the game yet, and already I knew I was fucked. I also quickly realized I needed to establish a couple basic rules for the playthrough before I began, or else the challenge would be trivial. For example, Voice Attack's capabilities made it possible for me to perform multiple actions within one command, or even a sequence of commands performed at very specific intervals. Having access to those things would make certain things in game way easier, so I banned the use of these types of commands. The other restriction I set for myself was that I had to beat the game entirely without the use of glitches. I followed Portal's speedrun.com guidelines for a glitchless speedrun to determine what was or what wasn't legal in my playthrough. I decided to do it this way because certain glitches in this game would allow me to bypass some difficult chambers for free, and thus take away a lot of the challenge. Anyways, with all those rules set in place, I was ready to get the voice-controlled playthrough into motion. Alright, so I just spent a couple hours setting up a bunch of voice commands, and I think I'm ready to get this ball rolling. Let's go. So I have no idea how difficult this is going to be. This could take me a couple days, or it could take me like a month. I have no idea. Okay, here it comes. Let us begin, my friends. Straight. Stop. Look left. Stop, look. Straight. Back. Stop. Look right. Stop, look. Fuck. Left. Stop. Right. Stop. Look left. Stop, look. Please. Right. Stop. Come on. Right. Right! What? Right. Straight. Oh my god, fucking finally. While it already took me minutes just to get out of the start of the game, the challenge had only just begun. The second half of Chamber 0 would introduce me to a whole other world of tedium. Grabbing objects. Look left. Stop, look. Use. Straight. Stop. Use. Fuck. Crouch. Left. Stop. Use. Stand. Back. Fuck. Straight. Stop. Whoa, what the hell? Use. Left. Come on. Back. Stop. Right. Stop. Use. When I finally did get the cube on the button, I encountered the final boss of the chamber, walking into the ending elevator. Straight. Oh, I think we got it, baby. Come on. That only took like already 5 minutes. Please. Yes. Chamber 0 itself took me nearly 6 minutes to complete. With that horrible of a precedent, I became especially worried about just how long it would take me to complete the next chamber, and unfortunately for me, Voice Attack decided it was not going to listen to me without a fight. Straight. Please, 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 please. Stop. 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 I was not getting through that. Jesus Christ, he needs to understand me. Great. Should have done it earlier. Stop. Okay, that's fine. Stop. Stop. Oh my god. Aside from that, Chamber 1 went pretty similarly to Chamber 0. Despite my efforts to meticulously line myself up to grab the cube, I still spent minutes failing to keep the cube in my hands, and placing the cube on the button afterwards was a nightmare because of the portal cycles. Eventually, though, I prevailed. Left. Stop. Straight. Stop. Left. Stop. Yeah! Alright. Jesus Christ, that took forever. After enduring the gauntlet that was the first 2 chambers, I found the next 2 chambers a lot easier. I grabbed the portal gun in Chamber 2 without too much trouble, and got through Chamber 3 pretty quickly. Albeit with some difficulty shooting to the end of the chamber, which would be a sign of things to come. Stop, look. Look left. Stop, look. Look left. Stop, look. Blue. When I made my way into Chamber 4, I knew that things would be a lot more painful from here on out. Not only was I now aware of the tedium that was slowly aiming my portal gun to fire blue portals in the correct spots, but I also had to combine that with the calculated nature of placing cubes on buttons. Regardless, Chamber 4 went surprisingly well. As for Chamber 5... Look left. Back. 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 Back! Thank you. Look left. I did not say look up. Look down. Blue. Look right. No. Don't do that actually. Okay, thank God I interrupted the command. Look up. Stop, look. Why did you drop it?
We will start
Back.
enhancing the truth in 3, 2...
Stop. And that is how it's done. Chambers 6 and 7 introduce ore puzzles. You could probably guess how I approached those tests. Stop. Right. Stop. Blue. Left. Stop. Look up. Stop, look. Damn it. Look down. Stop, look. Blue. Oh, that was barely. That was barely. Save. Look down. Stop, look.
Save. Straight. Stop. Stand. Save. Look left. Stop, look. Look up. Stop, look. Straight. You gotta be kidding me, bro. Load. Oh, stop. Stop. Load. Look left. Stop, look. Look up. Stop, look.
Straight. Jump. Yeah. Coming up next was Chamber 8. Although there are many methods of skipping the puzzle required to progress, I decided instead to complete it normally, because even after controlling Chell throughout 8 chambers, my greatest accomplishment with using voice commands up to this point had been jumping whilst moving forwards. Completing Chamber 8 casually is rather trivial, so I went into the puzzle expecting it to be pretty straightforward. But completely unexpectedly, I found myself face to face with the first boss fight of my voice-controlled playthrough.
Ready? Go! Stop, look. Look left. Look left. Stop, look. Alright, now look ahead. Look left. Stop, look. Look left. Stop, look.
Ooh, that might work. Blue. Please, 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 please. No! Look left.
5 minutes later.
Stop. Look. Blue. I think that works. I mean, that has to work. Are you serious? So eventually, after nearly 7 minutes, I hit the damn orb catcher. Thank the Lord. And then I was able to make my way out of Chamber 8. Up to this point, this was the chamber that took me the longest, even beating out the grueling dark past of my experiences with the first 2 chambers. Chamber 9 was nothing special. I struggled for a little while trying to shoot through the small gap in the wall to get past the fizzler, but I think that would be pretty obvious by this point. I got the cube on the button pretty fast, since by then I had figured out crouching was the best way to do so. After that, I took the elevator to Chamber 10. Chamber 10 introduces momentum-based flings. Going into this, I already knew that flinging had the potential for disaster. The extreme delay between commands was going to make it impossible to readjust myself in the air. I made it past the first 2 rooms in the chamber just fine, since they were painfully basic. But in particular, the last room gave me a ton of trouble. Look up. Stop, look. Blue. Save. Straight. Let's see if it works. Ooh. Straight. Stop. Straight. Load. Die. Straight. Stop. Oh, I should crouch into it. Straight. Eventually, I figured out that it's best to use my look down command before I enter a fling. That way, when I attempt to shoot through the portal a second time, portal funneling activates, which will automatically steer me into the portal I need to go through. With this technique, after 22 fling attempts in the final room and a total of 10 minutes spent in the chamber, I finally made it to the ending elevator. Yes! Straight! Look up! Straight! Stand! Look down! Stop, look! Stop! Yes! Oh my god! After completing Chamber 10, I decided to stop for the day. In total, I had spent about 51 minutes attempting the voice control challenge, with the most time-consuming chambers being Chamber 10, Chamber 8, and Chamber 1. Despite my struggles, I was beginning to have a better understanding over how to control Chell and the patience it was going to require. I quit the game that day feeling pretty good about the progress that had been made. Alright, so we are back for day 2 of this challenge. Last time I managed to get to chamber 11, and I fear that this is where it's going to get really difficult. This is where I'm really going to start to hate this. For today, I've now included the voice attack program in the top right of the screen, so you can see me yell save at it, and it thinks I say city or some shit. And I mean, yeah, without further ado, let's do this shit. Going into chamber 11, I already had a straightforward idea of how I wanted to complete it. Instead of solving the lengthy orb puzzle off in the back of the room, I was going to try and attempt to glitch the speedrun route, where you shoot a portal next to this door and then jump down to the gun in the middle. But before we continue, I just want to ask you something real quick. Just pop quiz time, alright? Considering everything you've learned so far, what do you think the hardest part of the chamber was for me? No, like really, I just want you to guess. What do you think the hardest part of this chamber was? After legitimately 2 minutes of aiming later, I got the shot near the door. Blue. Failed to jump a few times.
No! Oh my god!
And then finally grabbed the portal gun.
Stop! Use! Use! What the fuck?
Left. Stop. Okay, there we go. We got the gun. After that, I accidentally rode the Aperture Science on stationary scaffold backwards, but eventually I gained my bearings and died 2 more times. Jump. Crouch. Oh. Finally, after 9 minutes, I got out of chamber 11. And thankfully, things went a lot better in chamber 12. I used the camera strategy I learned in chamber 10 to fling through part of the chamber, and then used carefully timed commands to shoot portals just before I hit the ground. I ended up having to reload my saves a few times, because saying the commands too quickly never really sat too well with voice attack. Nonetheless, I eventually got into the next elevator, up to chamber 13. I wasn't all too concerned about chamber 13. There were no tricky flings or jumps to worry about. All I had to do was solve the puzzle. In this chamber, my plan was to use the rather well-known solution of using only 1 cube to solve the puzzle, instead of both. By this point in the challenge, I was making smarter decisions about how to aim, and I was a master of getting cubes on buttons. While 2-minute sessions of spinning around like a complete dumbass were still a common occurrence, I had accepted those as the norm now. To be honest, nothing too interesting happened in this chamber, except for this legendary trick shot.
Wait, roll in! Yo! Oh my god!
After doing the cha-cha slide on the ground as celebration, I entered the elevator and prepared for chamber 14. I'd imagine it's no secret to most people who have played Portal more than once that chamber 14 can be entirely skipped by cleverly using a fling to fly right to the end. And of course, as someone who has played Portal for more than 2,000 hours, I plan to use that skip to save myself a big headache in this challenge. Using an actual sensible control scheme, it's possible to finish the chamber in just a few seconds. But doing it with my vocal cords was an entirely different story. Blue. Straight. Stop. Orange. Stop. Orange. Right. Oh my god, man. Bowl and gunman? What? Orange. Right. No, okay, it's totally possible. I failed the same fling for a few more minutes, and then eventually had the genius idea of placing my orange portal before I walked off the ledge, and went off to finish the chamber that way. Overall, it wasn't too bad, except for whatever shit this was. Then, I was up to chamber 15. Yeah. My genuine excitement in making it this far was best summed up by 2 words uttered from my mouth as the thought of completing this chamber entered my mind. Oh shit. The beginning portion of the chamber wasn't exactly the issue. Things went well. Maybe a little too well. I flung over the first glass pane with ease thanks to my portal funneling strategy, and then encountered the first orb puzzle. I set myself up in front of that fizzler, waited for just the right moment, and then activated my voice commands just quick enough to get the orb in the orb catcher. Straight. Stop. Blue. Look up. Stop, look. Orange. That's gotta be it. Yes, man. I was gaming. Never before had I ever felt like I had so much control and flow with my voice commands. So I took the lift up to the midsection of the chamber. And then, I was face to face with the second boss fight of this challenge. This fling here in Chamber 15 was different than any other fling that I had encountered so far in my playthrough. Under the usual circumstances, I could remain stationary in midair and use portal funneling to perform a basic double fling. But in this room, you're unable to place portals on a majority of the flooring. I already knew this would be a problem well before entering this area of the game. But holy shit! I did not expect it to take me 30 fucking minutes to pass this part of the game! First, I tried jumping into a floor portal from a distance to get a double fling that way. Yeah, that didn't work. No way. My commands don't come out fast enough. That's 4 minutes wasted. Then, I tried doing a fling more akin to the casual route. But now there was another problem. My look down command can't pan down fast enough to get a second shot in. Since modifying my commands mid-challenge felt like cheating, I decided to just take the L and try something else. So that's another 4 minutes wasted. Then, I tried to get the fling by throwing myself into an infinite portal loop. But of course, I couldn't see the shot on the wall to fling forwards. I quickly realized that was a stupid idea. 45 seconds wasted. Next up, I tried air strafing over the glass pane. Looking back, I have no idea why I even tried to do this. This was idiotic. 5 minutes wasted. But then, something clicked. I realized I could preserve the momentum gained from the initial fling off this ledge by flinging back and forth between my orange and blue portals. From there, I figured out I could methodically change my aim in between flings to hit a shot on the wall behind me. The resulting fling gave me more than enough speed to reach the shootable surface. Then, I'd have to reshoot on the ground one more time to fling over the glass pane. It would take some luck to get the correct angle, but if I did everything just right, it could work. But if all that sounds ridiculous, remember that I'm your boy Shizzal, and I was gonna make this work.
Yes! Oh my god, I was stuck on that for like half an hour. And I finally made the fling.
So that was it. The most difficult part of the game so far taken down after a half an hour of extreme patience. Still, I had the remainder of Chamber 15 to go before I was completely out of the woods. I decided to solve the next door puzzle as intended, which was pretty painless. But then, I needed to use the moving platforms to traverse over the goo. This was somewhat tedious, because this was the first section of the game where I was actually put under time pressure to land my portal shots in order to be able to progress. I did end up getting through the narrow hallways after a few minutes though, and then used another classic fling at the end of the chamber to skip the final orb puzzle. And there it was. After a total of 56 minutes, I had completed Chamber 15. Now, I had spent about 2 hours and 26 minutes doing the voice control challenge in total, meaning Chamber 15 itself took up about 38% of my entire playthrough up to this point of the game. Needless to say, I was pretty content with just stopping there for the day and picking things up again tomorrow. Okay, so here we are back again, day 3 of this challenge. Now, Chamber 16 itself, I'm not too concerned about. I think the worst one we'll do today is Chamber 17, if we can even pass it today. Chamber 16 introduces turrets. I wasn't really worried about this map, because I knew I could make it through everything safely as long as I took things slow. For that reason, nothing much interesting happened here. Most of the chamber involved me slowly positioning myself just right in order to knock down the turrets. I did try and take some opportunities to be as reckless as possible though, by abusing the fact that the turrets take a couple seconds before they even lock onto you and start shooting. Also, you can be shot quite a bit before you actually end up dying. I used this knowledge to drop zone behind some turrets to kill them, instead of slowly using the cube instead. This is basically what I did for the entire chamber. I think my speedrunning habits really started to kick in because I did some really risky maneuvers and somehow managed to get away with them. Left. Stop.
How in the hell did that even work, dude?
Anyways, Chamber 16 overall went really smoothly and was nothing compared to the gauntlet that was the 15th chamber.
Yeah! Alright. Out of Chamber 16, pretty fast too.
If you remember what I was saying about a minute and a half ago, you might remember me expressing concern over Chamber 17. This is not without good reason. It's not so much that the chamber would be difficult with voice commands, but more so that it would take a very, very long time. Even casually, this chamber can be a serious headache. So naturally, I decided to tap into my inner speedrunner. If I were able to use the portal bump trick, this map would be a piece of cake. But portal bumping is considered a glitch, so that was off the table going by my own rule set. Instead, I wondered whether the camera stack strategy used in glitch the speedruns might be viable. But before I got to try it out, I had to make it through the start of the chamber first. Climbing with the cube was admittedly easier than expected, although a little tedious with all the aiming. Afterwards, I had to navigate through the orb hallways of death. Thankfully, I only had about 3 heart attacks walking through them. But when I cleared the corridors, I was ready to get to work with the camera stack. I placed the cube into position first. In order to get this skip to work, I needed to detach a security camera from a wall. The camera needs to be in an upright orientation on top of the cube in order to get enough height to clear the ledge. Any other orientation will not work. My plan was to detach the camera from the wall and then grab it midair in an upright orientation. But things didn't exactly go according to that plan when I quickly realized that would likely not be possible. Blue, use.
To ensure the safe performance of all authorized activities, do not destroy
This might be okay.
testing apparatus.
I wanted to grab it before it got angled like that.
A few moments later.
Straight. Stop. Save. Use. Use. Stand. Save. Straight. Load. Crouch. Straight. Stop. Right. Stop. Save. Straight. Use. Use. Load. Use. Use. Load. Use. Use. Back. Back. No! Load. Use. Use. Stand. Stop. We got it in the right orientation now. With the camera facing the right way now, I spent a couple minutes perfecting my line, and then eventually was ready to climb up the props. Save. Straight. Jump. Jump. Jump! Stop! Yes! Because I still had a portal below, nearby the companion cube I used to give myself a boost, I was able to place another portal on a nearby floor and bring the cube back with me onto the button. It was here that I encountered another unprecedented issue, the incinerator. When you press the button to open it, the incinerator is only open for about 13 seconds. If you haven't put 2 and 2 together yet, being under time pressure when using voice commands is a serious problem. So this 13-second window actually ended up being super tight, and my line had to be perfect. Simply placing the cube into the incinerator took multiple minutes. Right. Straight. Use. Back. Save. Left. Use. No! Left. Use. No! Left. Use. Left. Use. Yes. But after 20 total minutes of hard work, I had made it past Chamber 17. At this point, I was pretty much in complete disbelief that I had even managed to make it this far. I had taken down 13 out of the 18 total maps in the game, and now I was more optimistic than ever that finishing the game would actually be a possible feat. I walked into Chamber 18 with a rush of confidence and excitement. The start of the chamber was just overall completely standard. I took my time portaling in the right spots to ensure I landed on the platforms and not in the goo. Afterwards, I flung myself over to the button and prepared to deal with the turrets in the main room. I just played this part of the map casually, in which you use the energy orbs to knock down the turrets off their platforms. It sure was a ton of fun! Look down. Look up. Stop look. Look down. Look up. Stop look. Look down. After that, you need to get the orb into this orb catcher hiding behind a door. The button here activates it. The cycle to get this orb through the door is very tight though. When you press the button, the door only remains open for a couple seconds, so you need to time the press just before the orb hits the door. I tried approaching this in a way that made the most common sense to me. Place a portal on the wall above me, then on the floor below me, then hit the button. But even my best attempts ended up futile. I eventually realized this wasn't going to work. I just couldn't press the button fast enough. But then I had an idea. What if we got on top of the orb catcher and then fell down and hit the button? Look up. Stop look. Orange. Blue. Straight. Stop. Right. Stop. From on top of the orb catcher, I was able to fall right next to where the button was for a super easy press. This made it so I only needed to use one voice command versus needing to use 4. Now, the puzzle would be a piece of cake. It sure would be a shame if a poor portal placement made me redo the entire thing.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
There's no way. It's barely missing. Yeah, so this one portal placement made me waste 5 minutes. I was not happy about it. Time to spend 20 minutes on this again. I did end up correcting my mistake though and got the orb puzzle finished a few minutes later. This made it so the moving platform in the middle of the room was now activated. Now, the goal was to use the slanted surface activated by these buttons to fling over to the cube above. This part was basically a throwback to the incinerator in Chamber 17. This slanted surface is on a timer, so my sequence of commands had to be spot on for me to make the fling in time. For my purposes, the button down here was mostly useless because I very quickly figured out that trying to use this button to get the fling would be extremely obnoxious. I used it instead to get to the other button, as that position gave me a much more favorable sequence of voice commands I could use to nail the fling. It took me many tries, with some frustrating misses that were just barely off. But when I did make it all happen, it had to have been one of the most satisfying successes of the entire playthrough. Use. Back. Left. Back. Right. Stop. Orange. Look down. Left. Stop. Blue. Stop. Stop look.
Let's go, dude. Oh my god.
Most of the challenge of Chamber 18 was behind me by this point. Figuring out how to bring the cube back with me behind the slanted platform took a bit of work, but overall, the fundamentals I had learned throughout all the previous 18 chambers made it relatively easy to accomplish. I got the cube on the button, activating the final door leading to the large vertical flings over the goo. I knew that this part would be really tedious, but because these flings didn't require me to move in the air, and I had infinite attempts to shoot my portals without losing progress, I was confident that these flings were nothing to be worried about. 6 minutes of patient aiming later, and I had done it. That might have landed. Oh yeah.
Be advised,
Save.
the next test requires
Right?
exposure to
Great.
uninsulated electrical parts that may be dangerous
Stop.
under certain conditions.
Oh
For more
man, we
information,
made it to
please attend the
19.
Enrichment Center Electrical Safety
That
Seminar.
chamber did take forever though. Oh my god, dude, this is crazy.
I could beat the game.
Chamber 18 took about 50 minutes, and I also did Chambers 16 and 17 in the same session, so I was pretty worn out and decided to just end it there for the day. Nonetheless, my motivation was higher than ever to finish the game, no matter what it was going to take. 14 maps down, 4 to go. Alright, so here we are, day 3 of the challenge. We made it to Chamber 19 last time. This is one of those chambers that I'm quite concerned about. After that, I think we could take it slow and probably be fine. We'll see what happens. For Chamber 19, I decided to just take the casual approach instead of doing any speedrun strategies. Thus, I started by solving this simple orb puzzle at the front of the chamber. This orb catcher, when activated, starts up a moving platform that takes you over the goo to progress. I was super worried about this part. There are numerous things you need to do under strict time limits on this platform ride. Besides briefly ducking and jumping to avoid a couple obstacles, the first of these things was pressing this button here, which is only active for just about a second, and then very quickly firing a portal behind the door before it closes. Given the delay of my voice commands, I was concerned over whether this part was even possible. I set myself up at a decent angle the best I could, and then prayed. As you could probably guess, I got my feet wet a couple times attempting this, and there was a lot of trial and error, but I've bashed the monotonous nature of this challenge in your head enough by this point, so I won't get into that any further. It only took 2 or 3 minutes, and I say only because after all I had been through up to this point, I was highly tolerant to repetition. Somehow, by some divine miracle, it was just barely possible. Use, right, stop, orange. Next, after shimmying back onto the platform, I had to deal with this green orb. It turned out crawling directly into it wasn't going to work, so instead I had to come up with another strategy. Thankfully, my IQ rivals that of Sir Isaac Newton, so I very quickly came up with an overly complicated solution that involved me standing on the edge of a portal nearby the orb such that my aim wouldn't be dependent on the platform's movement, and then, when the platform came by, I just shot a portal of the same color so that I got bumped out the wall, landed on the platform, and the orb went through the portal I just fired. That took 8 minutes. Then I had to make my way around this wall, which wasn't as bad as everything I dealt with before, but I still fell into the goo a couple times. And at last, I had reached the iconic fire pit which initiates the classic escape sequence of the game. Escaping the fire was admittedly a little harder than expected, and I found myself struggling to get a portal down on the wall in time, but as always, I managed. With the ride on the moving platform now behind me, I was now completely comfortable making it through the rest of the map. There were no tricky flings or extreme timed events to worry about since the remainder of the chamber focuses on exploration. So, bit by bit, I slowly managed my way through. I did take advantage of a small trick used in the glitch of the speedrun where you shoot behind this tube, skipping part of the map. I made my way down to the bottom of Chamber 9's elevator shaft, and then was confronted by a rather annoying timing section on these pistons, but it could have been a lot worse. And of course, at the end, I had to waste another 60 seconds trying to jump into the next map, because tedium was tradition. But after I got the jump, all that stood between me and the next map was simply moving to the left.
Left. Left. Left. Left. Left. Yes! Oh my god.
This next map is called Escape Zero. Similar to the back half of Chamber 19, Escape Zero is more exploration based than puzzle based, so I was able to take my time. If anything, the beginning of the map ended up being the hardest part for me. I started off Escape Zero really nicely by getting crushed by this piston, and then proceeding to struggle jumping on any of the pistons for the next 3 minutes. Eventually, I retired that idea and decided to use more of my brain cells, instead opting to use more clever portal placements to advance through the map. I ran down the dark hallway and shot my next portal here, just like any ordinary 40-minute glitch to the speedrunner, and then again seriously struggled to jump on the pistons nearby for another couple minutes. After getting that nightmare over with, I pushed onwards, flinging through the skies and firing not so precisely timed portal shots through moving pistons. Then, I encountered the most fun part of the entire map. The rest was pretty self-explanatory, with the only kind of challenging part being the jump onto this moving piston, but nonetheless, I made it through with relative ease, and then moved on to the next map, Escape 01. The beginning of Escape 01 was by far the most concerning. The map starts out with the turret ambush in which you need to act fast to portal behind the turrets and take them out. I started out by using speedrun knowledge and pushed against a metal hatch which hides the turret on the left. For some reason, doing this causes the hatch to open early, so I shot a portal next to the turret. And so, after dying like 10 times, I managed to get behind it. Because if you remember rule 2 from Chamber 16, Chell is a very strong woman. After knocking the guy out, I opted to take out his friend aiming across the room as well. The turret in the back of the room got a pass, and is likely a contender for the most useless turret in the entire game, because I was able to fire a portal later into the map freely without him firing a single shot at me. I navigated deeper into the level, making a crucial jump off this pipe, and then really just playing through it all as you normally would. It was honestly pretty boring, since none of the speedrun strategies were a viable option. But eventually, I made my way to where the game introduces the rocket turret. Getting this guy to lock onto me in the right spots wasn't too difficult, but juking around it was actually really nerve-wracking and sketchy, and it caused a couple heartbreaking moments.
Stop. Blue. Straight. Left!
Anyways, after a ton of methodical dodging, and completing the puzzle I haven't legitimately solved in well over 5 years, I got myself into the vent, and engaged in the peak Portal gameplay experience.
Blue. 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 Back. Right.
While I'm a big fan of bashing my head against the wall until something works, that exhilarating experience couldn't even come close to what was waiting for me in the map ahead. I slowly walked into the loading trigger for what was the final map in the entire game. Escape 02 begins with a massive turret ambush. You're intended to take every single one of these turrets out before progressing further into the map. But I knew doing that would be incredibly boring, tedious, and slow. Since I'm not a boring person, when I portaled into the room with the ambush, I decided I was going to kill 0 turrets and just fling over to the next area before any of them could kill me. The plan was to set myself up as best as possible to fire a portal on this slanted surface, just as I exited my orange portal. After that, I had absolutely no plan at all, so when I hit the shot, I basically just spammed my look down command and kept firing orange. I died a few times, it was nothing too bad, but eventually by sheer luck I got the perfect fling and was rewarded for my stupidity, so I can't really complain.
Orange. Look down.
Then, I slowly took out these 2 turrets in the back of where I flung, so that my next magic trick could be performed uninterrupted. As it turns out, performing a big fling from this surface here gives you just barely enough height to reach the catwalk above, and it's actually a super easy thing to do. It only skips like 4 portal shots, but again, I'm not boring, so I had to do it. Since I was the king of voice-controlled flings by this point, I got it on my second try, and then walked down the long, spooky catwalk. I had fought my way desperately through 17 maps. I spent over 5 hours and 4 separate days conquering frustrating tank controls, nailing incredibly obnoxious flings, and perfecting especially demanding time challenges. Every time, in the face of adversity, when something seemed impractical with this shitty control scheme, I had managed to make it possible. But the entire time, I knew this final part of the game would be the hardest challenge of them all. The upcoming GLaDOS fight was a combination of every single thing that had made this playthrough excruciatingly frustrating and tedious. When you incinerate her morality core, GLaDOS activates a 6-minute neurotoxin timer. When that time expires, you die. Under normal circumstances, this is an extremely generous amount of time, but with voice controls, it's a nightmare scenario. It might be easier to understand just how difficult the fight is if I briefly break down how it goes again. You first hit GLaDOS with the rocket by using your portals. This knocks a core off of GLaDOS that will move to a respective predetermined location. You need to grab the core, activate the incinerator by pressing a button in this small hub, and then chuck the core into the incinerator. Do this 3 times and you beat the game. But already, this presents many issues. With voice controls, it can take forever to aim portals properly such that GLaDOS can actually be hit by the rocket in the first place. It takes even more voice-controlled aiming time to portal over to the cores and grab them. To make matters worse, 2 of those cores require flings to be reached. Then there's the incinerator. When you press the button, it's only open for around 6 seconds, so basically, 1 mistake, and you need to reload a save at the button and try again. And no matter where you are in the fight, every time you make a single movement or aiming mistake, the 6-minute timer keeps ticking. everything I hated about this challenge. Precise aiming, difficult flings, time pressure, all of those boxes were checked. Needless to say, the thought of it all was just too overwhelming. I incinerated the morality core to start the fight, but the pressure was just a little too much, and after throwing myself at the fight for 2 minutes without even having any sort of plan, I decided I wasn't ready yet. I needed the time to recharge and regain my patience. Day 4 was a hell of a step forwards, but it was clear now that I would need all the mental strength in the world to make the final push in completing the game. I'd spent the downtime after the previous session trying to establish a plan for how to defeat GLaDOS. And to be honest, after pondering about it for about 10 minutes, I hadn't really come up with anything. So I settled for the best plan possible. I was gonna wing it. My only idea was to try and counter the pressure of the 6-minute time restraint by repeatedly reloading spaced out quick saves if I made too many mistakes. I needed to be strict with how I judged my time, though, so if I wanted the best results, I would have to load a lot of quick saves. However, this would ensure I had enough time to incinerate all 3 cores. The only downside to this strategy is that it was incredibly aggravating and time consuming, but I literally had no other option if I wanted to win. With all that said, I'll let Day 5 speak for itself. Here is how, after many hours of monotony, pain, and grit, I finally completed my voice-controlled playthrough of Portal. Left. Stop. Look up. Look down. Stop, look. Look up.
Right. Back. Right. Straight. Crouch. Right. Back. Right.
Back. Stop. Use. Look right. Stop, look.
Stop. Use. Look. Back. Stop. Use. Look. Look right. Stop. Look. Stay. Back. Stop. Use. Look.
Look up. Stop, look. Save.
Push. Use. Back. Back. Stop. Look. Stop. Use. Back. Stop. Crouch. Straight. Stop. Use. Look. Stay. Push.
Use. Left. 3. Back. Right.
You think you're doing some damage?
Back. Right. Stop. Save. Look left. Load. Blue. Look right. Orange. Left. Stop. Stop, look. Save. 3. Stop. Look right.
Look right. Stop. Look up. Stop. Look. Look down. Look up. Look right. Look. Stop. Look back. Stop. Right. Stop. Look down. Stop.
Blue. Straight. Orange. Stop. Save.
Back.
Left.
Back. Right. Straight. Right. Straight. Look up. Stop. Look. Look up. Look down. Stop. Look. Look up.
Look down. Blue. Use. Look down. Orange. Back. Left. Save. Straight. Jump. Stop. Look right. Look up. Stop, look. Straight. Look down. Orange.
Sarcasm suicide test complete.
Oh no, dude. I might not have enough time. Load. Stop, look. Use. 3. Look right. Orange. Yes! Yes! Oh my god!
Okay, enough. I deleted it. No matter what happens next, you're dead. You're so shocking. You're dead.
Holy shit! Oh my god. That was insane.
This was a triumph.
I have to admit, when I started this challenge, I never would have expected it to be as difficult as it actually was.
It's hard.
It wasn't so much what I was doing that was difficult. In fact, I played a lot of the game in a very noob-like fashion, but working around the limitations of a horrible control scheme was not only greatly challenging, but also unexpectedly a lot of fun. Challenges like this are why, to me, Portal is a game that keeps giving. So, as I sit here wrapping up my 50-minute documentary on how I completed this game using voice dictation, I look at my 2100 hours on Portal 1 and think, man, there is so much more Portal to be played.